The commanders and troops on the field are very well prepared, sir. They responded incredibly rapidly to a deteriorating situation with equipment and capabilities. We have made sure from the top down, as a Secretary of Defense who's been in a unit holding riot shields outside the White House during the chaos of the summer of 2020. I know what it's like to be immediately deployed into a situation like that. There are moments where you make do as best you can temporarily, but we are ensuring they're housed, fed, water capabilities in real time from my office, because I care that much about the California Guard and the Marines and the men and women who are supporting our ICE agents on the ground. Before I hand it to Bryn, the insinuation that we're pulling money from housing and barracks in order to fund this is disingenuous and incorrect.
I'm just asking.
Bryn can give you the numbers. Absolutely. Every American citizen deserves to live in a community that's safe, and ICE agents need to be able to do their job. They're being attacked for doing their job, which is deporting illegal criminals. That should happen in any city, Minneapolis or Los Angeles. And if they're attacked, that's lawless, and President Trump believes in law and order. So
Welcome back to Conservative Call, Patriots. If you're tired of the mainstream media spinning the truth and want real conservative analysis, you've come to the right place. Make sure to smash that like button and subscribe with notifications on, because we're bringing you the content that matters most to freedom-loving Americans. Today.
Thank the gentleman. Mr. Aguilar.
Thank you, Chairman General Calvert.
That's right.
Thanks to the witnesses for being here.
Yes, okay, Private, go ahead.
The clock's still moving, Miss Secretary. I want to express my severe concern with the deployment of the National Guard in Los Angeles without consultation of the state of California. There have been photographs that have shown these troops sleeping on the floor and have not been provided fuel, food, or water by DOD. How long will this deployment last, and why were we unprepared to provide them basic necessities such as food and water?
The commanders and troops on the field are very well prepared, sir. They responded incredibly rapidly to a deteriorating situation with equipment and capabilities. We have made sure from the top down, as a Secretary of Defense who's been in a unit holding riot shields outside the White House during the chaos of the summer of 2020. I know what it's like to be immediately deployed into a situation like that. There are moments where you make do as best you can temporarily, but we are ensuring they're housed, fed, water capabilities in real time from my office, because I care that much about the California Guard and the Marines and the men and women who are supporting our ICE agents on the ground.
You should check
it's
with your
true
office.
Every day, and that's a disingenuous attack that misrepresents how much we care about our troops and what they're doing to defend ICE agents. I'm not going to take the fact that we don't care about the troops. Nobody cares more about the troops at the top than this Secretary and the Chairman and our department.
How long will the deployment last?
We stated very publicly that it's 60 days. Because we want to ensure that those rioters, looters, and thugs on the other side assaulting our police officers know that we're not going anywhere. We're here to maintain the peace on behalf of law enforcement officers in Los Angeles, which Gavin Newsom won't do.
What is the estimated cost of the deployment for the Guard and the Marines to L.A., and where's this funding coming from? Will it be coming from quality of life programs that affect our service members or our families? If you want to wait till I finish.
Before I hand it to
such as updates, housing and barracks.
Before I hand it to Bryn, the insinuation that we're pulling money from housing and barracks in order to fund this is disingenuous and incorrect.
I'm just asking.
Bryn can give you the numbers. Absolutely.
So the current estimated cost is $134 million, which is largely just TDY costs, travel, housing, food, etc.
Where's it coming from? That's the cost, but where's it coming from?
Out of their O&M accounts.
With the most recent deployment of the Marines, Mr. Secretary, what's the justification for using the military for civilian law enforcement purposes in L.A.? Why are you sending war fighters to cities to interact with civilians?
Every American citizen deserves to live in a community that's safe, and ICE agents need to be able to do their job. They're being attacked for doing their job, which is deporting illegal criminals. That should happen in any city, Minneapolis or Los Angeles. And if they're attacked, that's lawless, and President Trump believes in law and order. So he has every authority, and he has done mobilizing National Guard or active duty troops under U.S. code to protect federal agents in their job, which is exactly what we're doing, and we're proud to do it. We're proud to do it.
10 U.S.C. of the U.S. Code 12406 as a legal basis that the President used cites 3 examples and circumstances for the Guard. Invasion by a foreign nation, rebellion or dangerous rebellion against the authority of the government of the United States, or the president is unable with regular forces to execute the laws of the United States. Which authority is triggered here to justify the use?
I don't know. You just read it yourself, and people can listen themselves, but it sounds like all three to me. If you've got millions of illegals
Think
and
the
you don't know where
president
they're
is
coming
unable
from,
to
they're
execute the
they're
laws of the
waving
United
flags
States?
from foreign
You just
countries
said-
and assaulting police officers
Said
and
the
law
president
enforcement
is
officers.
unable to
That's the
execute the
problem.
laws of the United States?
No, the governor of California is unable to
The code
execute the
says-
laws of the
the
United
code says
States.
the president. You said all three
The governor
apply.
of the California has failed to protect his people, along with the mayor of Los Angeles, and so President Trump has said he will protect our agents, and our Guard and Marines
The
are
law
proud to do
also
it.
says, Mr. Secretary, that the orders for these purposes shall be issued through governors of the states.
You and I both know that President Trump has all the authorities necessary, and thankfully he's willing to do it on behalf of the citizens of Los Angeles,
You
on behalf
also-
of our ICE agents, and behalf of our country.
We've also pulled $1 billion for the border as well. So this just goes into the same fund, 134. What did
Congressman,
you
what's
indicate, 134 million? I was asking Ms. McDonald.
Okay.
134 million goes on top of the billion that's been pulled for the
So
border.
the funding that was pulled for this year was largely in FSRM, and in this budget, we're actually looking to plus that funding back up to backfill that for our troops and for their families.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank the gentleman. Mr. Valadeo.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Secretary. Thank you, General. Thank you, Ms. McDonald, for being here.
Today, we're breaking down explosive footage from a congressional hearing where we see Democrats absolutely losing their minds over President Trump's decisive action to deploy federal troops to Los Angeles. And folks, what you're about to hear will show you exactly why we needed Trump back in the White House. Let me set the stage for you. We've got Congressman Aguilar, a California Democrat, trying to attack our defense secretary for doing exactly what Americans voted for, enforcing our immigration laws and protecting federal agents. This is the same California that's been harboring illegal immigrants for years, the same state that's created sanctuary cities that put American lives at risk. The congressman starts whining about the National Guard being deployed without California's permission. Let me ask you something, patriots. Since when does a state that refuses to enforce federal law get to dictate when the federal government can step in and protect its own agents? This is exactly the kind of backwards thinking that got us into this mess in the first place. Now, the defense secretary's response here is absolutely brilliant. He doesn't back down for 1 second. He makes it crystal clear that these troops responded rapidly to a deteriorating situation. And when Aguilar tries to attack him about troops allegedly sleeping on floors, the secretary shuts him down hard. He points out that he's been in those exact situations himself, holding riot shields outside the White House during the chaos of 2020. This is a man who knows what our service members go through. Here's what the mainstream media won't tell you about this deployment. We're talking about a 60-day operation that costs $134 million. Now, Democrats want to make you think that's a lot of money, but let me put this in perspective. California spends billions every year on illegal immigrants. They spend our tax dollars on housing, healthcare, and education for people who shouldn't even be in this country. But when it comes to $134 million to protect federal agents who are trying to do their jobs, suddenly they're concerned about costs. The defense secretary makes a crucial point that every American needs to understand. ICE agents are being attacked for doing their jobs. We're talking about federal law enforcement officers who are tasked with removing illegal criminals from our communities, and they're being assaulted by thugs and rioters. This isn't about immigration policy anymore, folks. This is about law and order. When the congressman tries to challenge the legal authority for this deployment, the secretary doesn't hesitate. He cites 10 U.S.C. 12406, which gives the president clear authority to deploy troops when regular forces cannot execute the laws of the United States. And that's exactly what we're seeing in California. The governor has completely abdicated his responsibility to protect his own citizens. Think about this for a moment. We have a situation where foreign nationals are waving flags from their home countries while assaulting American police officers on American soil. If that doesn't constitute a threat to our sovereignty, I don't know what does. The defense secretary is absolutely right when he says it sounds like all three conditions for deployment are met: foreign invasion, rebellion against government authority, and the inability of regular forces to execute federal law. This is where President Trump's leadership really shines through. While previous administrations would have sat back and let sanctuary cities continue their lawless behavior, Trump is taking decisive action. He's sending a clear message that federal law will be enforced, whether states like it or not. The congressman's questioning reveals everything wrong with the Democrat approach to governance. Instead of asking how they can better support federal law enforcement, he's worried about consultation with a state government that has actively obstructed federal immigration enforcement for years. It's like asking the fox for permission to guard the henhouse. What really gets me fired up about this exchange is the underlying assumption from Democrats that somehow protecting ICE agents is controversial. These are federal law enforcement officers doing exactly what they're supposed to do, removing illegal criminals from our communities. The fact that they need military protection to do their jobs shows you just how far California has fallen. The defense secretary's passion really comes through when he talks about caring for the troops. You can hear the conviction in his voice when he says nobody cares more about the troops than he does. This is a man who's been there, who's held those riot shields, who knows what it's like to be deployed into chaos. That's the kind of leadership our military deserves. Now, let's talk about the bigger picture here. This deployment isn't just about Los Angeles. It's about sending a message to every sanctuary city and every state that thinks they can ignore federal law. President Trump is showing that there are consequences for lawlessness, whether you're an illegal immigrant committing crimes or a state government refusing to cooperate with federal authorities. The 60-day timeline is strategically brilliant. It's long enough to establish order and support ICE operations, but also send a message to the rioters and thugs that federal forces aren't going anywhere. This isn't a quick deployment that criminals can just wait out. This is sustained federal presence that will allow ICE to do their job properly. Democrats want to frame this as military overreach, but that's complete nonsense. This is exactly what the federal government is supposed to do when state and local authorities fail to maintain order. The Constitution is clear about federal supremacy when it comes to immigration law, and President Trump is simply enforcing that authority. What we're seeing in this hearing is a microcosm of the larger battle between constitutional governance and progressive lawlessness. On one side, you have Democrats who prioritize the comfort of illegal immigrants over the safety of federal agents. On the other side, you have Republicans who believe in law and order and the rule of law. The fact that this deployment was necessary at all is an indictment of California's leadership. Governor Newsom and the mayor of Los Angeles have created an environment where federal law enforcement officers can't do their job safely. That's not just poor governance. It's a dereliction of duty that puts American lives at risk. Patriots, this is why elections matter. This is why we needed Trump back in the White House. While Democrats were busy creating sanctuary cities and protecting illegal criminals, Trump was preparing to restore law and order. This deployment is just the beginning of what's going to be a comprehensive effort to secure our borders and enforce our immigration laws. The mainstream media will try to spin this as controversial or extreme, but don't let them fool you. There's nothing controversial about protecting federal agents. There's nothing extreme about enforcing immigration law. What's extreme is allowing illegal immigrants to assault police officers while waving foreign flags on American soil. This deployment represents everything conservatives have been fighting for: strong borders, law and order, and a federal government that actually enforces its own laws. The defense secretary performance in this hearing shows exactly the kind of leadership we need: clear, decisive, and unapologetic about protecting American interests. If you found this analysis helpful, make sure to like this video and subscribe to Conservative Call. We're going to keep bringing you the truth that the mainstream media won't tell you. And if you want to support our channel, check out the links in the description below. Until next time, Patriots, keep fighting for America.